All right, let's get into it. Today, we are tackling a huge one, our relationship with time itself. We're going to explore a totally different way to think about things like productivity and eating, and it's all based on an absolutely fantastic summary of the book 4,000 Weeks from the brilliant folks over at learner.org. I want to start with just one number. That's it. It's simple, it's a little bit shocking, and honestly, it might just change how you see everything. That number, it's 4,000. And there you have it, 4,000 weeks. On average, that's what we get. Now hang on, before you get bombed out, this isn't supposed to be depressing. The whole idea here is that this is the single most important fact you need to understand to live a truly meaningful life. It's not a scary limit, it's a reality that can actually set you free. So, if our time is so incredibly finite, why do we all feel so constantly swamped, so rushed, so anxious? Well, that leads us right into what we can call the modern productivity trap. We're all trying so hard to be more efficient, but it just seems to be making us feel worse. What's going on? Well, the core of the problem is something called the denial of finitude. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. We act as if we have infinite time. We treat our lives like this bottomless container that we just have to keep filling up with more tasks, more achievements, more experiences. And that creates this constant low-level anxiety, right? Because the list of things we could do is endless, but our 4,000 weeks are very, very real. And living in that denial leads us straight into something called the efficiency trap. And this is the paradox. We think, if I can just get more efficient, if I can just clear my to-do list faster, then I'll finally feel relaxed. But it's a trap. It just doesn't work that way. Think about it in a super practical way. Let's say you get really good at email. You're a machine, just firing off replies, clearing that inbox like a pro. For a moment, you feel amazing, you feel productive, but then what happens? Exactly. Answering emails faster just means you get more replies, which creates more work for you to do. The more stuff you handle, the more the world sends your way. The conveyor belt just speeds up, and you end up feeling just as behind as you did before, maybe even more so. So, what on earth is the solution? Well, it's not some new app or a fancier to-do list. The real answer is a complete mindset shift. It's about learning to embrace your limits. It's about finding freedom in, and get this, admitting defeat. And this is the first, most crucial step. You have to stop fighting a battle you are guaranteed to lose. The fantasy of getting everything done, of one day reaching a state of perfect control where everything is handled, that's the very thing causing all the stress. The moment you truly accept that you will never get everything done is the moment you can actually start to be free. This requires a huge mental flip, right? We have to go from FOMO to JOMO. We all know the fear of missing out, that nagging feeling that you should be doing something else, something better. The alternative is the joy of missing out. This is the amazing relief that comes when you realize you are absolutely guaranteed to miss out on almost everything. And that's okay. This idea is just so powerful because when you accept that you can't experience everything, the choices you do make suddenly have so much more weight and meaning. Your decision to be here doing this thing right now, it becomes sacred because you chose it over all the other infinite possibilities. You're finally free to just enjoy the tiny slice of life you actually get to live. Okay, so how do we turn this big idea into something we can actually use day to day? Well, it comes down to choosing what to neglect. In other words, you need to become a better procrastinator. Yeah, you heard that right. See, we think of procrastination as a character flaw, but it's not. It's just a logical consequence of having finite time. You are always procrastinating on something. The only choice you have is what you're going to put off. Are you going to neglect the important stuff to deal with trivial emails? Or are you going to neglect the trivial stuff to focus on what really matters? And this summary from learner.org breaks it down into 3 really clear steps. First, pay yourself first, but with your time. Block out a non-negotiable slot for your most important work before the day gets crazy. Second, limit your work in progress. Stop trying to juggle 10 projects. Pick 2 or 3 and put everything else on a list for later. And third, this one's huge, resist middling priorities. These are the kind of important tasks that will eat up all your time if you let them. Learn to say no. Doing this also takes patience. And this metaphor, stay on the bus, is perfect. You know how it is. You start a new project and the first part is exciting, but then it gets difficult or feels a bit boring and you're tempted to jump off and find a new, shinier bus. The real magic, The really meaningful work often happens when you push through that phase. You've got to stay on your bus. All right, for this last part, let's zoom all the way out, because this isn't just about managing your to-do list. It's about finding meaning in your life. And weirdly enough, a huge part of that is accepting just how insignificant you are. Now, I know that sounds a little harsh, but think about it. The pressure we feel to change the world or put a dent in the universe, that's a pretty modern idea, and it causes a ton of anxiety. The reality is, in the vast timeline of the cosmos, our lives are just a tiny, beautiful flicker. And believe it or not, that is really, really good news. And here's why. Accepting that frees you. It frees you from the impossible, crushing standard of becoming some legendary historical figure. It lets you find deep, profound meaning right where you are, in the small, ordinary, human-scale things. Making a nice meal, helping out a neighbor, spending quality time with your family. These things matter immensely, not because the universe will remember them, but because they are the very stuff your 4,000 weeks are made of. So, what's the big takeaway? How do you decide what to do with your precious few weeks? It can really boil down to one simple question. When you're faced with a choice about how to spend your time, just ask yourself this: does this choice enlarge me or does it diminish me? Let that be your guide. You know, this whole explainer, all these incredible ideas, they were built from the amazing summary of 4,000 weeks over at learner.org. If this completely different and frankly liberating way of thinking about time really clicks with you, I seriously recommend you go check them out. They are masters at boiling down huge ideas from essential books into these clear, powerful insights, just like the ones we talked about today. Thanks so much for tuning in.